All right, we're going to look at third-party payment. Okay, that means somebody other than you is going to be paying for something that you're going to decide to acquire. I didn't use the term purchase because maybe they're going to pay for all of it, and like schooling in some cases. All right, so here we have a graph for the product X. This third-party payment stuff occurs most often and is most relevant to healthcare, right? Most relevant to, because that's 1/6 of our economy. All right, but X is generic. It could be anything. Okay, so let's take a look at our starting point. Okay, suppose we just allow the free market to prevail, and the market clearing price, the good or service X, is going to be $70 per unit. Okay, and then we're going to have this quantity, and for nice round numbers, let's just call this 50. So 50 units of this product per year at $70 per unit, so the total spending would be, what, $3,500 per time period, right? 70 times 50. And that's important because in a minute we're going to see what happens to the amount spent on it if we have the third-party payment. All right, so suppose we come along and say, from now on, the buyer only has to pay for 40% of the cost. Okay, right now, with the price 70, quantity 50, the buyer's paying all of the cost. And I scribbled something over here in the margin that's worth mentioning with my arrow. We're going to assume that there aren't any spillovers associated with purchasing this good and consuming the good. Okay, that's what this hieroglyphics over here means. It means that the marginal social benefit is the same as the marginal private benefit, which is true for most goods most of the time. Okay, the benefit to society is not going to be any different than the benefit to the purchaser, right? So only the purchaser is going to benefit from the purchases of X. Now, when would this not be true, for example? Well, suppose X is a vaccine against something that's contagious. Okay, well, that would be an example where MSB is greater than NPB. You get the vaccination. Now you're no longer going to spread this disease. The rest of society benefits from your purchase. Okay, but for most things, you as a member of society, when you buy something, get all of society's benefit from the purchase. All right, and then on the supply side, the production side, we're going to assume that the production cost at the margin, incremental cost to produce, which is what supply reflects, is the same for society and for the individual producer. So it's not like pollution where there's some impact on third parties whenever this is made. Okay, so whoever, the doctor, the healthcare clinic, if that's what X is related to, whatever the cost to produce it is to them, that's the cost to all of society. All right, so suppose we have this subsidy coming along. Okay, now the government or the insurance companies are going to pay for 60% of the cost, and the patient is going to pay for 40%. Okay, that's going to increase the demand for this good. Pretty straight. Okay, going to be at D1 now. And the question is, well, but doc, how much does this increase the demand for the good? Yeah, you showed it. Well, what's this number up here? What are some of these other numbers going to be? Okay, well, now think about this. The patient is paying for 40% of the price of the good. Okay, and the most that they're willing to pay out of pocket for even one unit of this good is 100. 100 is 40% of what? I'll do the math for you. Oops, a little bit off the chart here. 250. How do we get that? Well, the math of how you get it is you take the patient's share, you take the reciprocal of that, and multiply it by the 100 to get the starting point for the new demand line. Okay, that's the math of it. Reciprocal of the patient share. What's the patient share? 2/5. Right, 40% is 2/5. Reciprocal, 5 halves, 2.5. 250 is 2.5 times 100. Okay, now why is that? Well, that's back to the common sense of it. If the provider were to charge 250 and you only had to pay 40% of it, you'd only have to pay 100. Okay, so it's the same. At any quantity, okay, the willingness to pay is 2.5 times what it used to be, right? Because now you're only paying for 40% of it out of pocket. Okay, so anyway, that's all you need is 2 points. You're going to use this point because 2.5 times 0 is still 0, right? If all you can give away is this quantity over here, no reason to put a number there. We're not going to need it for any calculations. Whatever this number is, this is the amount you can give away at a price of 0. That's not going to be changed by a subsidy, right? Okay, the amount you can give away would stay the same. Okay, so you have that point, you have to find that point, and you just draw a straight line between the two of them to get the new demand. A new equilibrium. Okay, now the market price is going to be more than anybody would be willing to pay for this good to begin with. At least in this case, drawing this graph, it could come out to be exactly the same or lower. Let's see, what does that look like? 120, we'll say. Okay, and then over here, what is that? Let's make sure we don't have too many 50s involved here. Let's say that's 90. All right, so another 40 units of this good will be desired, okay, and provided at this higher price. This is called a moral hazard situation. Why is it called a moral hazard situation? Well, because this additional output from 50 up to 90, these additional 40 units, cost more, would be charged more for without the subsidy than it is worth to the provider, to the consumer to have. Okay? What is this moral hazard business, and what does this mean in real life? It means you go to the doctor and they do some tests and they say, here's what's wrong with you, here's what it's going to cost to fix it. And you go, no, I have other plans with that money. This is not life or death, and that's true for most healthcare things. It's a matter of how fast and pain and healing faster. And no. And the doctor says, relax, you don't have to suffer, you don't have to wait. Your insurance company's going to pick up 60% of this cost. And you go, I want it, doc. If all I have to pay is 40% of that bill, the total cost, I want it. And if the whole amount, no. It's a moral hazard. If you could pass the cost on to somebody else, yeah, I'll put that bill in somebody else's mailbox, sure. If I only had to pay $40 out of $100 and some other faceless, nameless person, like an insurance company, which is people, right? But it has the name of a big, giant insurance company. Yeah, if they're going to pay for it, sure, let's go with it. Okay, so that creates a dead weight loss. See, that's based on this assumption over here with this MSB, MPV thing. Okay, if that's the efficient quantity, and by efficient, I don't mean best. Most efficient, I mean, there's other things that matter other than efficiency. Okay, if 50 is the most efficient quantity, then 90 is going to give up some of that initial efficiency gain. Maybe it's justified based on equity grounds. We can all battle through the political system or by other methods of whether the additional cost to society is worth that. But this triangle here defines the dead weight loss. Let's see how big that is. Oh, we need another point over here. See, that looks like to be about 55. Okay, sorry, I can't. So I have to draw my 55 downhill. Okay, 55. So we have that triangle. I don't want to make it too heavily shaded, make my graph look ugly. But this triangle between these 2 points is the dead weight loss, the result of the moral hazard, the result of, yeah, we want more now that somebody else is paying for it, for some of it. Okay, so what is the computation there? 120 minus 55 is the side, this side of the triangle, 65. And then 90 minus 50 is the height of the triangle. Okay, so times 2, or divided by 2, base times height divided by 2 would be 65 times 20. I can do that math in my head. $1,300. Okay, so in terms of efficiency, kind of a price tag on those other things that we think we're accomplishing, equity. Okay, so that's the other end. We don't want poor people to go without this treatment. Okay, so the price tag of a reduced efficiency of this other thing that we're pursuing is going to be $1,300 per year, quantity per year. All right, now let's look at another aspect of this. What are we spending now on this product? Let's see, before we were spending 70 times 50, $3,500 a year. Now we're spending 120 times 90. Let's see, that would be $1,080. 120 times 90. I can do that in my head because 120 times 100, it's got a couple of zeros on here, right? 12,000. Okay, and then you got to subtract 10 times this. Anyway, I think I've got that right, but it's 120 times 90. Like that's this much is going to be spent on this. You ever heard that phrase? If you think it's expensive now, wait till it's free. See, that's what we're doing here. See, when we had to pay for it ourselves, the total amount of spending on it was $3,500. When we had to not pay for all of it ourselves, the total spending on it was $10,800. Okay, 120 times 90, in case my math is wrong. Double check it out there. And then I think, no, we don't want to spend that much on, taxpayers or higher insurance. No, we don't want to do that. Hey, they were getting by on $70 per unit before. Let's just lock that price in. Okay, not allow more than that price to be charged for X. Well, so what would that do? Let's take this out here. At $70, with this new demand, the quantity demanded would be about 130. Okay, a lot more than 90. And the quantity supplied is still at 50. We're talking long lines to get X. A shortage of 80 per year. See, and those are the choices. Okay, we can either let the market price increase to this level and then have it clear at $120, no waiting lists, nothing. You get in, you get taken care of right away. Or we can say, no, we don't want to spend $10,800 on this. Bad enough when we spent $3,500 on it. No, we're gonna control the price, not let those evil producers of X jack the price up on us. Okay, we're going to limit it to where they were before at 70. Okay, now there's going to be a big shortage.